Thank you everyone for making time on a Friday evening and coming here to listen to a very exciting topic, something that I have no clue about despite me trying to learn many times. So I'm hoping I leave today a little bit smarter about the metaverse than I was when I came here. So before we get started, I know we don't have enough chairs here. There's a couple around in the office. One request, if you're pulling a chair from there, just please make sure that you put it back from wherever you get it. I'll make sure I remind you towards the end, but it'll help all of us leave back home on a Friday evening sooner. Great. I'll give everyone like 5-10 minutes to grab chairs. Also, there is food at the back. So please feel free to go grab some snacks throughout the next 45 minutes, 1 hour as the panel continues to speak. We do have the whole session live stream. So if you guys want the link to it to share it to your friends, please let us know. We'll share the link with you and you can share it further. We really think this is an exciting topic for many people. Yes. Anurag? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. We'll get you guys the link in the next 10-15 minutes. Cool. So maybe on the event, right? Yeah. On the Tickle. So it's if you guys registered through Tickle, you should have the link on Tickle. If you didn't register through Tickle, just let us know. We'll send it on a case-by-case basis. Great. So before we begin, I just wanted to quickly introduce us and FalconX. My name is Samir. I'm part of the BITSAA SVC chapter. So I know most people here are Bitsians, but there are also some who are non-Bitsians. So just to give you guys a glimpse of what we do, who we are and what we do. We are the chapter based out with the BITS alumni chapter based out of the Bay Area. We do a bunch of events ranging from music nights to events like these where we have guests to casual picnics and movie nights. So if you're a Bitsian or have Bitsian friends, please tag along with them and please show up at more of these events. The second, today we have FalconX, who have been incredibly nice to host us. Thank you, Raju sir, as always. So before we begin, we would like to have you speak a few words about the event and your interest in this space. And yeah, if you know more, please enlighten us.
All right, thank you. Welcome. Good evening, everyone, and very warm welcome to FalconX. How many of you are here for the first time? Wow, there's quite a few. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, thank you. So I'm here, of course, on behalf of FalconX as a board member, one of the founding members. But also have, a much longer history as a BITSAA alum. So, that's where I began my journey in college several years ago. And, I'm a tech entrepreneur by background, built a company here. And, that was bought by Hitachi back in 2010. And, after that, a few of us, there are about 8 of us came together and, formed FalconX was it about 4 years ago, Murli? Yeah, 4 years. By the way, Murli Chirala, he's the CEO of FalconX. So he's really the host. And Lochan, where is Lochan? Lochan Alak, she's the executive director. Anuja, she's also a staff member. And Angad, there are like about 3-4 of them. If you like what we do out here and this event and anything else after that, please follow up with any of them, including me, of course. So the central idea was that as innovation becomes increasingly global, while Silicon Valley may continue to be the center of innovation, we believe that it's becoming increasingly global. Many of these founders, as they build their companies at some point, start scaling. They want to connect with Silicon Valley. And US being the largest market for many of these companies. And so the idea behind FalconX was it becomes kind of the landing place, right? It becomes a port of entry, if you will, for the founders. And the central idea is connect them to mentors, great pool of mentors. All the founders of FalconX have built companies in the past successfully. But more importantly, we also work very closely with several of the CXOs and other entrepreneurs who build companies in the Valley who are willing to make the time for these founders. Initially, the idea was about a third of these startups would come from India, third from here in Silicon Valley, another third from different parts of the world. Today, I would say one half of them are from India to global product companies. And, much like, one of the speakers here, Shaurya, from Flam, which started in India, but really building a product for the global market. And so about half of them are from India, about a third from Silicon Valley, and the remaining 15-20% or so are from other parts of the world. So that's what FalconX is about. And it's a lot more than just a co-working space. The big reason why they come here is really for the mentorship and all that. And BITS continues to be sort of the fountainhead for some of the best entrepreneurs India is producing. And so it's no surprise we have quite a few BITSians within the FalconX network, where I don't know what the actual number is out of the 40. I know there's Arna, there's Flam, we have Wave Labs, and the list goes on. Yeah. So anyway, once again, a very warm welcome to you all, and I'll now let Ankush take it over. Ankush is the president of the BITSAA chapter. There are some of the other leaders of BITSAA. I see Pramila, she's the CEO of BITSAA International. So when you see all these young people, in the BITS community, they are actually the ones that make the alumni organization take. This is for the non-BITSians who are out here. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Raju, sir. So I think thanks FalconX for hosting us. Let's get started with Metaverse. So I think a lot of crowd is here to know there's a lot of buzz around it. So I work for Meta. So that is one perspective I can bring. But my primary other job is related to BITSAA SVC. So we always host BITSian companies, Western founders who are visiting us. We wanted to hear what they are doing. So let me invite Agarwal, founder of Flam, and Satish Subramanian. Satish, okay, yeah. So Satish is now is an engineering leader with Classdojo and has previously worked with Roblox, building teams, has a lot of experience in AR, VR. And Shore definitely is running a startup. We'll talk about very cool stuff around that. Is my mic audible? Okay. So I think let's get started. So Shore, how about you tell us your journey from BITS to Flam? I know there are a lot of if and buts in the journey. You are getting an offer, you are going to join Nutanix. What happened? Why Flam came into picture?
I think this is good. Yeah, sure. No, thanks for asking. I think it was very interesting to start from and then start building this company. Definitely got this offer from Nutanix, and mom was very happy because you just sometimes need an offer to make sure that you are not that kid who did not get any kind of placements, right? So I think that was a good validation for mom, which was great. I think another interesting thing was that I was a part of entrepreneurship cell in BITS, which is always very helpful because you get to meet interesting entrepreneurs while you're studying and then organize some events. So I think that was pretty interesting specifically for me. And in general, okay. So in general, I think Nutanix was interesting because that was, I think, giving me a lot of money from India perspective. They give a lot of money in PS2. So even on internships, they give you one of the highest, I think, stipends in the country. So I was using all of that money to build the product. So I was an intern, and then I kept, along with my co-founders, obviously, we kept 4-5 interns, all from BITS, and we were paying. So the money was coming from Nutanix, and we were paying the interns, and then that's how we started building. So yeah.
So does Nutanix have any share in this company now?
No, but I think some things are super interesting and they are linked in some ways. When I met BV Obviously, he's a part of SVQ, BV, Raju, and SVQ team invested in us. But BV is pretty close to Nutanix. So he mentored Nutanix CEO, Dheeraj Pandey. And when I got to know that, we had some good conversation about how Nutanix is the honest first check in Flam, even though we don't know about it. So yeah.
Interesting. So Satish, how about you? How was your journey from Bits to Roblox to Classdojo? So can you talk about
Yeah.
that?
Sure. Yeah. So back in Bits, I was like super, maybe 3 or 4 of us in Bits that were really interested in graphics. Not much going on in those days, 92, 97, right? But still managed to write some interesting applications. My first ray tracer was written on paper, ray traced on paper before I actually could type it in an IPC and, in the 1 hour, right? So that was kind of like my introduction to graphics. I was always a very visual person. So I went on to do my master's in VR back in 98 at University of Illinois, Chicago, working on cool social VR applications. But it took almost 8-9 years after that before I would actually be doing more graphics work in DreamWorks Animation, working on their internal cinematography systems and motion capture systems. Ultimately, I went on to lead DreamWorks' R&D group in India for 3 years in Bangalore. Came back here, worked on an AR/VR startup, which interestingly does something very similar to what Flam started off. But that was, I think, a startup that was too early for its time. Ended up joining Roblox, where I led the engineering for Roblox avatars, which is still one of the hot topics. Avatars is one of the hot topics in the metaverse space. But always interested in education and wanted to do something kind of give back to in the form of education. And I felt there was an opportunity for education to be significantly transformed through the metaverse, through virtual worlds. And that's why I joined Classdojo, heading their engineering for their metaverse product.
Interesting, pretty interesting. So Shore, coming back to you. So what made you start Flam? Why Flam? Why not something else? So what was that trigger, and can you talk about it? What is Flam all about?
Sure, Ankush. So I think, first of all, entrepreneurship itself, right? So I wanted to, this is a very brief idea about myself. I think I wanted to become an IAS officer and wanted to change a few things significantly, right? Significant changes. And those are larger problems. Those are not a particular product problem or something which companies can do, right? So larger problems. And that's the reason I wanted to become an IAS officer for most of my life. But realize that Democrats generally don't let bureaucrats do much, even though that's the brain behind most of the changes that we see. But essentially, if you don't have the decision making, so in India, I mean, I realize that's the case. Look at few examples, and I realized that most of the larger changes that you want to bring probably need a lot of money, obviously, and you need those skills to be able to. You need those problem-solving skills as well, which entrepreneurship teaches you in the long run, right? When you build a large enough company of a global scale, I think in that process you learn so much that's when you can probably solve interesting challenges. So if you look at Gates Foundation, how they've been able to bring a lot of changes in this world, larger problems, right? Or probably I recently also managed to go to Nizambad and see some of the work that Raju has been doing. Funny is also a part of that initiative. I mean, you get to do this stuff because obviously the wealth creation that happens in the process, and obviously you learn so much in building a great company, what you can implement those learnings on the larger causes that you want to solve. So I think that's why entrepreneurship started, and specifically Flam, because I mean, this is a personal story, but I got a handwritten letter from my dad in my final year, right? It's very rare because in engineering colleges, you don't really have a lot of girls, so you don't get those love letters or stuff. So this was the first letter of my life and was properly handwritten letter, right? And I was pretty excited to see the letter, and there were some photographs of family and all. I was like, this is pretty cool, because I was going back to that letter again and again, right? Every day I would read that handwritten letter. It was physical, right? Physically kept in my room. If the same piece of text was sent to me on WhatsApp or any other social media, probably I would have skipped looking at it, right? And there's so much of content thrown at you at every point in time on all these transactional social medias or in general that you generally skip, right? So the idea developed from there, like, how do we really build something? And that time I did not know AR, honestly. I did not have much background about augmented reality. Someone also introduced a term called phygital, right? So how do you augment digital experiences on physical worlds? I had no idea about all of that, but the idea was, let's create a medium where people can exchange content in a much more immersive way, where there is a physical relevance, and how do you augment something digitally, which makes the whole experience much more interesting, so that you could feel very close to that person, and yeah, you don't miss content. So that's the reason Flam happened. I mean, and the first product also was pretty close to what my dad sent. So yeah, we'll talk about the product as well.
Interesting. Satish, you are also an investor and advisor for Flam. So what is your thought? What prompted you to advise, invest, and the idea?
So I mentioned briefly that I was working for a startup called Blipper. It's a London-based startup. And they were building an AR product where the customers were Nike and Heinz, and those were the customers, Disney. The product itself was an AR application. So it was primarily used for marketing purposes, where I could point to a box of cereal and the camera will recognize it. And then immediately the box of cereal becomes a game controller in my hand. So now we took that concept, we actually extended that to a content creation platform, AR creation platform. But always the challenge was, what is the real user application here from an individual user's perspective, from the consumer's perspective, not from the business perspective, but more from consumer's perspective. The consumer, why would be promoted to actually go point at a cereal box unless there is something in it for them, right? It's like more interactive ads. What attracted me to Flam was it was actually more personal. The same concept where maybe I should not reveal the concept yet because let Shaurya explain it. The same concept could be applied to personal memories, and how you could actually have a rather simple concept, which you guys may have seen in Harry Potter many times, that can be associated with individual memories for individuals users. And to me, that simplicity of the product and was really what attracted me to Flam. And the fact that the team was able to think about it and scale it, I think that was a real challenge there. Taking a very simple product, but scaling it is as difficult as taking a difficult product and just getting it into the hands of a user. So to me, those two reasons was the reason why I became an investor in Flam, but also advising them because I have been there, done that, know what pitfalls there are, and we try to avoid it this time.
So that's great. So Shaurya, how about now you take us about what is that product everyone is excited about and who is the audience? And I hope it's going from more dads to their sons, more to their girlfriends, boyfriends, everyone. What is the story about it, this product?
So I think this is going to be a household product for sure. The first product that we started with, it's called a smart photo. So every one of us, I am sure, have printed photographs, right? I mean, we print pictures all the time. Every household has a printed photograph. And photo printing has been happening for the last 200 years, right? In every format, everyone is doing it. The idea was, and it's a very simple way how we talk about it. Can you print a video? So that's the first thing we literally talked about when we were talking about this product. And when you say video printing, I'm sure nobody understands, right? Like, what exactly is video printing? How do you even print a video? The photo is, product is very simple. When we say printed video, you print some frame of the video as a photograph. And when you look at that photograph through our camera application, the video plays inside the picture itself. And then it could be a video, it could be a whole 3D experience that pops out of that photo trigger or that image trigger. And then you can preserve your memories no longer as photos, but videos, which is like much more immersive, or in fact 3D experiences as well. So that is the first product we came up with. And I think that product was pretty interesting to us when we realized that actually users are creating AR content. It's not just printing videos, but essentially it's creating 3D AR content. So when you upload the whole construct is AR content. So you become 3D AR content creators by using a very simple product, a very simple use case. So yeah, that's the first product we started with.
So who is the audience for that product now? Who is sending whom and the cards? Like, if I remember over time, we used to do a postal cards, but who is the audience now? How they are using it? Can you a little bit talk about that?
Sure.
What are the interesting use cases on that?
Two major use cases and then pretty much a large market. One use case is sharing. So when I send you a greeting card, like people have been sharing greeting cards all their life, templated greeting cards, happy birthday, sorry, happy anniversary, all those cards. Now those can be much more personal and immersive with smart photos, because you send, for example, a happy birthday smart photo card. Even after 50 years, if you just scan it, the whole emotions come live, because it's not a templated static card. It's a dynamic video card, and that is like 100x more interesting experience than it could be. So sharing is one. Second is your own memories, which is a pretty big market, whether it's photo books or like pictures in general. So overall, we tried to understand that just these two use cases, like what's the market size? The market size was really large. It's a $50 billion market currently. And when we started seeing the adoption in India, it was like pretty impressive, because when you use our product once, you continue to experience that again and again by scanning the card and then seeing the video through our camera. So these are the two major use cases.
And how can the audience here can send that cards to their family and friends in India?
Yes. Everyone can. We started. So basically, this is also interesting to know. We started as a direct to consumer product because we wanted to understand how the product market fit looks like, and then do people really enjoy using the product? Because I mean, it's we used to hear all these things that we can send a video on WhatsApp, right? Like, why do you want to send a smart photo for that? So we just wanted to make sure that there is enough excitement and delta for users to use this product. And I think more than 1 million users in India use this product in last 1 year of launch, and then scanned millions of times, which is very interesting, because I'll tell you what's the habit change over here. I'm sure all of us use cameras, right? All of us use phone cameras all the time. We use phone cameras to create content, right? We click a picture or click a video. Cameras are essentially used for the last whatever n number of years to create content. On Flam, for the very first time, users were using camera to consume content. So there is a printed image, right? If you look at that image through a camera, the video plays, right? And that's a massive habit change. Like, how do you really make people consume content through a camera? So that happened for almost 1 year, and it was happening at a pretty decent scale. And there was not just, I would say, a product market fit, but a product market delight. Anyone who would use the product would fall in love. So that's when we decided to create camera SDKs to accelerate the distribution faster, because the vision is to make sure that Flam cards or smart photos, you need to be a household product. Like, we are not just okay for having 1 million users or 2 million or 5 million users. Every household in 192 countries should have this product in next 5 years. If you have to do that, like, how do you really scale? So we worked pretty much on creating camera SDKs. That was a challenge, because I don't know how many of us understand this specific part, but Unity cameras are not compatible with, easily compatible with the native Android iOS apps. It's a bit of a size that increases of the apps and all of that. Few challenges over there. We decided to create those SDKs and integrate with existing large photo print and greeting cards companies. So for example, if it's a Hallmark, they print 7 billion cards every year, right? 7 billion is a pretty decent scale. And if we integrate our camera SDK into their application, then probably in 1 year or 2 years, 10% or 5% or 1% of their user base will shift from usual greeting cards to Flam kind of greeting cards, right? And that can help us achieve our vision of being in every household pretty fast. So that's what we did recently. I think we sort of are not just a B2C play in that domain. It's a enterprise SDK that we are starting to.
Interesting. So this is how a Flam card looks. You have the photo, you have a barcode here, and probably you need a Flam app. There are, yeah. So in case you are interested in demo, we can have it after this session. So let's switch gears. I think let's talk about Metaverse. So I think Metaverse is interesting because I think the term everyone is hearing last 1 year when Mark Zuckerberg started talking about it, changed the name of a company from Facebook to Meta. So everyone has their own definition. I am part of a Meta. I'm working on the RTC space. So if you see avatars talking to each other, someone calling someone. So pretty much you can remember that someone sitting here is working on that product. But coming back to Metaverse, I think, so there is one version of Metaverse where Meta is talking about wear your VR glasses, go into a 3D immersive world, extends beyond 2D world. You see a third dimension of a depth, RGB, and your experiences are very immersive. Some of the use cases are, we all are sitting next to each other, but there is a case where we all are connected through our VR headsets, Quest headsets, and we are virtually having the same experience. There is a form factor of whether device people can wear for 1 hour, more hours. So there is a buzzword in market, announce the results. Other companies are following up. So let's start with that. So Metaverse, everyone is hearing. Let's get more from Classdojo's Metaverse and Flam's Metaverse. What are you guys thinking about Metaverse? How does it resonate with what is going in the market?
Cool. Yeah. So generally, my understanding of the Metaverse is Metaverse is like the internet getting its third dimension. That's how I see the Metaverse. So when I say this is Classdojo's Metaverse, I'm not sure if that's even I wouldn't even frame it that way, because Classdojo will have a presence in the Metaverse. Now, that will be in the form of Classdojo's virtual worlds. So like I mentioned before, education is actually a very underserved space in many ways in terms of technology. I don't know how many of you have kids in school. At least my son, he's got like 10 different apps, none of which work really well. And so maybe 1 or 2 actually work, but it's very hard to consume content in the education domain where the kids are, 1, learning, 2, actually having fun learning. So there are 2 aspects to that, which Classdojo is trying to focus on, which is we want every kid on the planet to be able to get the education that they love. So the philosophy here is that there are certain things that you can do in a virtual world that you would not be able to do in the real world. Let's say, for example, if I want to do scuba diving and try to go see deep sea animals, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to do that, right? At least I don't want to do that. but I can do that in a virtual world, right? Likewise, kids, when they started learning from looking at picture books and say, oh, this is how animals adapt in the real world. Okay, there is camouflaging. There is this puffer fish that does this thing. It's all in pictures. And then come the YouTubes and the videos now we have actually visual, visual feedback that makes learning so much more fun. My son is like probably learned more than what I did when I was in my 10th grade. My son is already knew that in the 3rd grade. So I feel the metaverse is going to actually just accelerate that level of learning, because now it's going to take from a unidimensional, unidirectional feed of information to actually an experiential thing, where you're going to be able to go into the world and experience it along with the things that you're seeing in that world. Taking you to Rome when it existed, and where you jump into that world, your avatar gets the Roman robes, and you go and watch a bullfight or even become a bullfighter in the arena in the Coliseum, right? So that kind of experience is going to be, I think, life-changing, and it's going to be a lot more fun learning in that environment.
Sure. How is your metaverse? Where are you guys heading with Flam?
100% agree. First of all, I think a lot has been talked about metaverse, and there's too much buzz about metaverse, but it's not that fancy to understand. I think it's purely 3D internet. So internet in the last 30 years has been always, most of it has always been 2D. But metaverse, I think simply it's going to be 3D internet. Obviously powered by AR, VR, and more interesting technologies. That's exactly what we believe in. So even if I think that yesterday as well, we were talking about this, but if you look at content in the last 20 years, right? So we start, and specifically social media companies. So we started with text-first content play on Orkut. How many of us use Orkut? I think yesterday also I asked this, but a lot, like almost all of us, right? So we started from text first content on Orkut, and then we came to image first content on Instagram. Then we witnessed pretty much a successful company, TikTok, all short video based content. So content has been moving very fast from text to image to videos. And I think the future of content on social will be 3D, AR, VR content. And that's exactly what we are powering. And I think that's exactly what, whether it's Meta or any company out there, that's the immersion that everyone is specifically talking about. One more context that I think I've tried to understand, like about metaverse, it's not going to be a use case of social, just a use case of social or gaming or education in general. I think most of the things that are happening on the internet will fundamentally start to happen on the metaverse, just because it's like so much more immersion. Like we can take any example. So even if it's e-commerce today is happening on websites like Flipkart or Amazon. It's whatever you see, you're still not very close to the product, right? Imagine if a camera opens up and you can try on those products on yourself and then make the purchase. So for example, Flipkart is pretty much investing a lot on Flipkart camera, because camera-based e-commerce is going to be much more immersive and much more experiential. So every industry will, I think, upgrade into much more immersive experiences. So everything that's happening on the internet will and should happen on the metaverse.
So essentially, we are saying that both AR, VR, and multiple surfaces, starting from devices like Pico, Oculus, mobile, desktop. So one hand AR, VR technology, other hand, you have all the surfaces. So as we go along in the future, you will have AR, VR on interconnected devices, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I mean, even today, for example, when the mobile era started, right? Content did not suddenly stop happening on the browsers and the desktops. It continues to happen on the browsers and desktops. In addition, you have to now have a mobile responsive version of your web page. You need to then build a Facebook page in order to attract the audience that exists there, that are mostly consuming their information there. So you have to create a Facebook page. Likewise, when 3D content becomes more ubiquitous, then the consumption patterns will again determine the delivery patterns as well. So that wouldn't mean that people that are still using desktops will not be able to consume this content. They'll still be able to get a desktop version of the e-commerce storefront. They'll be able to get a mobile version of the e-commerce storefront, and they'll be able to get an AR, VR responsive version of the e-commerce storefront. storefront where you can now put on things. You can actually see your avatar wear virtual clothing. Your avatar could be a stylized avatar, could be a photorealistic avatar. It could actually be simulating real clothing, that you are seeing in an e-commerce store on your AR device. So it's not going to be like a full transformation. It's going to be an evolution, and it'll boil down to who is on what device, and every single device needs to support it.
I think just to add a little bit perspective on AR, VR. So because they're used interchangeably. So AR is more on the spec, like you're wearing a goggles like Quest Pro. You are in an immersive world, and VR is all about that. AR is more about augmented reality, where you actually on your phone, if you're opening a Snapchat or a Instagram, you have a lot of good filters. Or you're shopping, you are just clicking and you're seeing how the product looks on you. So both are these trends which are part of the metaverse. So I think this week, Shorey, you and I were in the Game Summit. And it was like very different. Like gaming is all about gaming. What are the next step? But half of the companies are talking about metaverse. So I don't think it's a buzzword anymore, because these gaming companies are also finding a next niche, how to go more immersive, how to tap the real life scenarios. So what did you see in the Game Summit, Ashwarya?
First of all, just to quickly talk about the buzzword, I think obviously it's not, and definitely it's not a buzzword, because we are not talking about just the virtual worlds and avatars and all. It's a very simple way of thinking that content will change. Like we're talking about 3D. It's not that it's something fancy. It's a very simple way of thinking about it. We used to talk about talking to our parents on phone, like audio, right? We used to talk on phone. It was just audio way of talking on phone. And then we switched to video calls, right? So now everyone is on video calls because it's much more immersive, right? It's much more experiential. And these calls will become 3D calls, where you will feel that your probably parents are in front of you, right? So I think it's a very simple transition that we're talking about. So buzzword definitely is out of the question, to be honest. Talking about Game Beats event, yes, almost every company there was building either the hard. So there are multiple, I think we will talk about it, but there are multiple layers of building a metaverse, whether it's the human interface layer or the infrastructure or creator economy. So in that summit, I think most of the people, almost everyone was working on one or the other layers of the metaverse. So that's pretty much right.
Yeah. So Satish, going back to you, I saw Roblox as a gaming company, and now they also call themselves as metaverse. Everyone is setting up shops, live streams, shows. Everything is happening in an app. You don't need a Quest Pro like device. So what is your thoughts, like what is happening on Roblox side?
I think there are a few things that makes Roblox different. Fundamentally, Roblox started off as a physics sandbox for kids to actually play and build physics things together and learn physics. That's how it started. And then it transitioned it into a game company, because most kids that went from like tinkering with the sandbox, building stuff in the sandbox, went on to actually naturally build games, because games, as many of you may know, is all about physics, simulation, and interactive application of real-time modifications to a world, to a virtual world. That's what games are. So it is very natural that Roblox became a game engine, starting to serve a lot of games. Fundamentally, though, what is powering Roblox is the creation side of it. Initially, the creators were Roblox, meaning Roblox was creating some of the content, seeding it, but they were very quick to transition into a creator economy, where Roblox creators, who are like really kids who were like 12 years old, 15 years old, they started to build games for their friends, for their acquaintances, and for their network, the community that they were having. So it is a creator-driven economy that is driving all the power that you see in Roblox. Even today, when Roblox, let's say, partners with any big Walmart or any of those guys, Roblox does not create any of the content. It is the community creators that actually build the content for Walmart on Roblox. So it is begin the shift that there are two shifts that we were saying. One is where are the users? Where is the younger generation spending all their time on? Maybe the previous generation was spending it on Snapchat. The younger generation these days are mostly on Roblox like platforms, playing games, and lots of them just go to Roblox just because they can do voice chat with their friends, not because you don't get voice chat elsewhere. No, it's just because that's their space. That's the place that they find themselves being together in. While they're playing some game, they may not even be playing a game. They'll just be hanging around in a yoga place and chatting and in voice chat, right? So it is actually the Roblox, hence in that sense, is truly driving the notion of what a metaverse can be. That it is not games alone. There will be many games, yes, but it's going to be more about experiences, lots of different experiences. There was one kid that actually built an experience because he's suffering through a depression because of a death in the family. And so many other kids actually could associate with that. And then they went into that game because they were finding solace, they were finding company there in that space. So to me, it's like not just games. So when people think of metaverse and immediately say, okay, what games do you play on Roblox? I actually don't play any games on Roblox. In fact, a lot of times I just go to Roblox just to, hang out. That's it.
Yeah, so I think one of the interesting studies from Roblox, I think the next generation, if you're thinking about any ideas or companies in this space, the audience of 18 to 30 is pretty much very interested to explore these new devices. The audience from 30 plus to 50 is pretty much on Facebook's, Snapchats and all that. Maybe Snapchat a little bit, but more on Facebook, Instagram. And the traditional audience is pretty much on the phones and video calls. So there is a shift about this new customer segment, which is happening, which is called Generation X, who's very form filled with all these devices. So do you guys see that trend in your products?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, an 8-year-old today is going to be a 13-year-old 5 years from now. So the habits that they grow as they are growing up, where they hang out, what they do, what activities they do, all matters. And that's where is that group hanging out? Are they hanging out on Snapchat? Are they hanging out on Instagram? No, the group is, if you ask any kid that is 7 or 8 years old, they're most likely hanging out with their friends on Roblox. So it's kind of like the notion of community, what you can do as a community there. And lots of very interesting experiences to be had there as well. And a lot of them end up becoming developers. They learned to code for the very first time on Roblox, published their very first interactive experience on Roblox that their friends got to play. Right. So it actually changes the way that you also learning on a platform like that.
Interesting. So let's switch gears about the infrastructure for metaverse. I think traditionally it is told that there are 7 layers. You have experience layer. What is a finale experience? Like you have in Quest Pro, or you have on AR glasses or Snapchat or anything like that. Then you have a discovery layer where you can find your friends, family, what are the connection points. Then you have a creator economy. I think broadly, Satish talked about Roblox, how you can create games, some worlds. Then you have a special computing layer. This is very interesting. So right now I can hear a sound from my left ear versus the right ear as a human thing. But if you are in an immersive world, how do you create this specialized effect? I'm talking to Shaurya, I'm talking to someone else. Can you create that specialized audio effect? And that's where technology becomes a little different than an audio call. Then you have decentralization layer, because a lot of PCs are in flux. You have audio, video, you have action, you have avatars, lip syncing, and then you have a human interface layer where avatars are syncing about it. You are seeing a photorealistic avatars. Mark talked about that. Then you have an infrastructure layer. So if you think about infrastructure layer, you talk about 5G devices, because everything is compute. So if you see this 7 layer, so there's an immense opportunity for a lot of startups to happen in each layer. So what do you guys think? What is happening in your things in terms of Classdojo, Flam? What are you guys thinking? How's the ecosystem evolving around that?
Sure. So,
You got it.
so I think definitely multiple layers, and I think multiple companies, for example, on the human interfacing layer, Oculus Meta is building amazing hardwares for the human interface layers, and then there are infrastructural layers. So specifically talking about Flam, I think we are focused on building the experiential layer, the application layer, which is the top layer. So there are 7 layers, and I think experiential layers are the top most layers. So you leverage most of the layers and then build around it. But we've realized that we are so early in the whole. I mean, it's still early in the metaverse space that if you're building the experiential layer, you'll have to build some other infra layers or maybe other layers as well. So, for example, we are the upcoming product in Flam is a pure social network, just like you have used Instagram or TikTok. It's going to be a 3D AR VR Instagram or TikTok version, just to think about it in a simpler fashion. So we realized that if you think about it, TikTok became supremely successful because they democratized video creation for the first time on internet, right? For TikTok, it was not easy to create videos on few clicks. It was hard to create videos. Only there was a learning curve to be able to create good videos, right? Similarly, when we talk about Flam building a social media network, we had to optimize a lot, and I think that's one critical layer. It's the creator economy layer. So you have to build that creative suite to democratize 3D AR VR content creation. So earlier, 3D creation was hard. Today, there are certain tools that Snap has created, Facebook has created, which has made it a little easier. But you have to make it easy to an extent where my parents can create 3D AR VR in a few clicks. So that's one very critical creator economy layer where we are focused. So yeah, so specifically for Flam, we are building the experiential layer, the social media network, which is what Flam is building, and the creator economy layer, and also a few critical aspects of the infra layers. So I think that's where we are exactly.
Interesting. How about Classdojo?
Well, Classdojo is primarily operating at the experience layer right now, because we have a very low denominator in terms of devices, right? We have most kids using Chromebooks or hand-me-down devices from parents. So which means if we are targeting the 5 to 12 years, we want to make sure that it's like a single click and they get to the experience. Nothing. So any downloading of apps, none of that stuff, right? So it should be on the browser. So we are building our experience layer on the browser. In terms of the 7 layers, so experiences obviously are consumed by the end users. Now, who creates those experiences are the creators. So which means when creators can create content easily, people will naturally consume more of it. So until cameras became available on your phone, the number of photos, the number of videos that were being created and being shared were not this many. And now with cameras and on the phone, and with the ability for the infrastructure layer on the video side to be able to deliver, whatever quality of video that you upload, it will get transcoded into lots of different bit rates, and then it gets sent across in a stream from streaming. So you don't have to download these like 10 MB videos, right? So all of that made it possible for the likes of YouTube or Instagram, Snap, TikTok, all of them to actually succeed or give the experiences to the creators, so to the end users. And along with that, the creation tools also became better. Like today, I can create a fancy video in TikTok, like non-linear editing in TikTok. I can do that so much more faster than I can do it on like professional video editing software like Premiere, right? Or applying like all these different filters in Instagram is probably much more easier than it ever was in Photoshop. And as consumers, most people don't want to actually deal with the cockpit tools. They want actually very simple, easy tools, because at the end of the day, creation experience has to be super easy. And then the sharing experience, as a creator, when you create something, you derive more pleasure and delight when you're able to share it with others very easily. and creating and sharing experiences, when it becomes easy, then that particular era is going to be dominated by that particular kind of platforms. So to me, with the introduction of LiDAR on the phones, Apple has just given us the first consumer indicator of how people will be able to create 3D content. Up until now, people are using cockpit tools like Maya and 3ds Max to create 3D content. But tomorrow you'll be able to take a camera, just scan this vase in front of you, and then say, and then send that to your wife, and then she can actually place that vase virtually in the house and say, yeah, it looks good. The lighting in our house lighting, this vase actually looks good. So that is going to happen, right? And it's inevitable because you already are seeing the first signs of it on the latest iPhones. LiDAR is there. Not too many people are scanning 3D yet, but they will. And once they scan 3D, they'll be able to share that in 3D with others. And then content creation will start to exponentially increase.
Interesting. I think just to summarize, so how many of you have used Quest Pro or Quest? Anyone? Okay. So I think it started last year with Mark talking about Metaverse, and what I am hearing more and more and seeing more. So it is spanning from VR goggles like Quest, Pico, Sony's, everyone extending, then extending to 2D surfaces like Roblox. So, and then to browsers with Classdojo. So the form factor is changing. The technology is going everywhere, whether it's AR, VR, but things are happening in one way or another. So Metaverse itself is a very big buzzword. But if you go to surfaces, technologies, you can actually see a lot of interesting use cases, a lot of creator economy, a lot of enterprise use cases. Like Quest Pro claims that you can displace your monitors. You can actually virtually work in the device. So a lot of things are happening. I would say that interesting times to see how things are folding up. So coming back to you, Shoria, so when can this use Flam products? What is it they can try right now, and how they can help contribute in the Flam community and your vision?
Sure. So I think one of the products we started selling to users or sharing with users was exactly last year. And I think that product is already something which a lot of users in India have used. And I think we can also experience the product. So I don't know who has the cards, but I gave the cards to someone over here. So probably you can show that product to some of these people here. And there's an app on the App Store, Android, iOS, both. So that product is already live, and we are now moving into the expansion mode for that use case with camera SDKs, as I earlier talked about. Our next product, which is coming up, is like super exciting, and I'm super excited about that product, which is a pure play social media network that we are building on 3D AR VR. So that product is in beta right now, but it's live, and then we have been building it pretty quick. So in the last 2-3 months, we've been able to develop 2 versions of that product already, and it's live on Android, iOS, Test Flight, and Oculus as well. So as Satish rightly mentioned, like even if we switch to newer hardwares, can these experiences still happen on desktops and the existing smartphones? So we are definitely leveraging one of the largest hardware ecosystems in this world right now, which is like smartphones. So yeah, we have that app beta live on all these devices, but that one probably after this talk, I'll show you in person. Those who are interested, I have that on my iPad, the beta version, and then can definitely show.
I actually saw a demo. It's mind blowing. I would highly encourage all of you to have that demo before you leave. So I think just to go on the other part, I learned that Dojo and Flam are hiring. So how can, what are the opportunities for BitChains and non-BitChains in this room?
Yeah, so Classdojo, like I mentioned, we are a browser-based virtual worlds application that we are building. And we are hiring for senior engineers who have experience working on game engines, either as game engine developers, somebody with like very strong, real-time networking experience, maybe through WebRTC or other similar technologies, will also be very applicable for what we are building here. In addition, we are also looking for folks who will be interested in building tools for creation, where the focus is tomorrow a teacher should be able to create content as easily as a Pixar artist would be able to. That is our vision, and where we want to actually completely rethink creation in the 3D worlds. And of course, gameplay programming is another area that we'll be looking for folks. And outside of the metaverse part of Classdojo, we are also hiring for full stack engineers across the board for the Classdojo app, because we are also we are primarily a social messaging. We are primarily a social media or messaging app between teachers and parents, and that's what is driving Classdojo today. What I'm helping Classdojo build is the future of where we see it going. So we have opportunities in both places.
How about Flam?
So almost all the same roles, and you should apply for Flam first, whoever is interested, because we will make it very interesting. So yeah. But yeah.
Interesting. So I think, yeah, if you have looking for a career change or you need any guidance, I think both the Shaurya and Satish are here. And especially if you're looking for a jobs, very interesting opportunity that Flam and Classdojo. So I think with this, I would like to wrap up this session. And I would like to thank both Shaurya and Satish, and also the FalconX team. So
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. So I think with that, we can open for Q&A. Any questions? Any questions from the audience?
Why don't we just grab one of the mics? Yeah.
So couple of questions. By the way, I know Satish, I know you, Shaurya, Preeti. I used to work at Nutanix myself. And I met with Malhar a couple of weeks back. I should connect. So one question I have is that you talked about the 7 layers, right? What layers are most exciting for monetization? Like, which layers offer that opportunity for business? And in terms of the technology itself, right? Because we were talking about how some technologies are not yet ready, right? Which layers will be more coming later versus they're happening now?
Very interesting question, because I think we've been able to do that, fortunately, with one of our first products. In fact, our first product, right? So I think infra, definitely you can monetize it pretty quick. If you're talking about the experiential layers, for example, Snap monetized after 100 million users, right? TikTok monetized after 500 million users. But now when they monetize, TikTok has a revenue of 50 billion ARR, right? Like 50 billion ARR is like massive ARR. But obviously they have to monetize after a particular critical mass. So experiential layers monetization takes time. So infra layers definitely, and so the camera SDK that I talked about, now that's the infra layer on which we functioned, and now that camera SDK can be a part of any photo printing or greeting cards or any company in general eventually. So that will generate revenues for us this quarter itself, like starting this quarter itself, right? And we can literally move pretty fast on that. And if you look at it in 5 years, it could be easily a 80 to 100 million ARR business. So infra layer, I think, is the fastest to monetization. And in the creator economy layer, you can help others monetize. So which makes your platform, like, for example, a lot of creators won't let Instagram die, right? Because they make their money from Instagram or TikTok. So I think that layer is critical for your experiential layer to kick off eventually. So these are the 3 layers where we work, and infra layer is the most critical one.
I will probably say the infra layers probably have to lead the way. Otherwise, none of the 7 layers are going to actually even fly or work. So for that reason, infra has to happen first. And what kind of infra are we talking about here? Let's look at the average content sizes of any of these simple metaverse experiences. Now, if you think about something like TikTok, right? The creation side of TikTok is AR. The consumption side is still a video. You don't consume AR content, right? So because video is easier from the infra perspective, video is easier to stream. Streaming technology has been built so that video can be streamed without much latency at all. That is not the case with the 3D content. 3D content is very, very hard to stream today. It's not in a format that is streamable yet. There are new formats that are coming up with GLTF pushed by Kronos, which is the consortium of that handles OpenGL and WebGL and all. And there is also USDZ, which is starting to become like a format for content exchange, as well as for content transmission, which is primarily being promoted by, it is developed by Pixar, promoted heavily by Adobe and Apple. Now, those two content formats will enable 3D content to be streamable. Then the infrastructure does not exist today to stream it. So then infrastructure has to be built to be, I'm talking about going into mainstream. So which means if you are the first that can actually stream USD very well, now you get a very, very good chance for, maybe getting acquired by Amazon, AWS, or Apple even, right? The next layer is the, you have the content creation side, right? And creation is freaking hard in 3D. It's very, very hard in 3D. So anybody that is going to be working on any systems where 3D creation becomes ubiquitous, as much as should be as easy to create a 3D model of this vase as is to take a video of the vase, right? So now if we can build to that point, then that is monetizable. 3D content distribution platforms, libraries, 3D content libraries. So when you're looking for content to add to your world, let's say you're creating a metaverse experience for your office party. Let's say you want to meet in the metaverse. You want to actually build an office party. You want to have all of the branding and everything else happening for your office to show up in this virtual world, right? How are you going to be able to get all of that kind of content in? So in order to do that, you need tools. You need a library of content that you can go search and get content from. So for those that are not aware, Sketchfab is the company that actually builds or that hosts 3D content. So 3D creators will upload their creations to Sketchfab, which can then be bought by anybody that wants to actually use that content within their metaverse environments. Sketchfab got bought over by Unity. And then Quixel, which was actually providing similar content libraries, was bought by Unreal or Epic. So there is opportunities for monetization on the content creation as well as in the content delivery and distribution side as well. Another problem that is going to come that will be very, very hard to solve is content discovery. Right? When we had the Web 1.0, right, where everybody was creating their web pages, information was being shared on web pages, and that was an open protocol, right? So web pages could be discovered by a search engine and then indexed, and so a search engines were able to go find that content for you. The moment that the content moved into individual social media walled gardens, it became harder to find through your search engines. So you had to be in that walled garden in order to be able to search for it and discover that content. And then content discovery and recommendation systems became monetizable, like because there was I think Find, right, which was a BITSAA startup which got acquired by Facebook just for the fact that they were one of the best recommendation engines, right? So that is monetization opportunities there. On the 3D metaverse discovery and recommendation side, I don't know of anybody that is working on that yet, but that's going to become a very relevant problem to solve. Again, we don't yet know whether it is going to be an open system as Web.o was, or is it going to be a closed system that Web 2.0 ended up being? We don't know yet. So, yeah.
So I think massive opportunities in metaverse. So we can take, since in interest of time, we can take one last question.
Okay, then I'll ask two questions. First one, in the creation and infrastructure side, NVIDIA is doing interesting things in Omniverse, which allows distributed work environments of creating these, large scale models, but over in distributed environments, which has always been a difficult thing to achieve. So that's an infrastructure as well as a creation. I wonder if you had a comment on that approach.
Love Omniverse. I have so many friends that work on Omniverse. In fact, I know a few bit students that are actually on the leadership side, on the Omniverse side.
Yeah, I was sorry to interrupt. I was at Supermicro, and they're selling with Omniverse this distributed work environment, would be perfect for companies like yours who are hiring people all over the world and things like that. And then the next question, and I'll stop, is where do you see NFTs coming in this? Because you just mentioned selling. Is there an economy here on NFTs?
Yeah. So in terms of Omniverse, the way I think about it, or I see it, is Omniverse is kind of the way I am naively comparing Omniverse is to what Amazon did with AWS. What NVIDIA could be doing with Omniverse is similar to what Amazon did with AWS. Provide that infrastructure, provide all of the tooling that is required, provide the delivery mechanism, and to an infrastructure element for anybody that wants to build their 3D presence in the metaverse, right? To be able to do that very easily. And so to me, I'm super excited for Omniverse. I feel that Omniverse is, at least target is not just creation in one particular domain. They are actually opening up creation across domains. I think industrial applications will probably be leading the creation side initially, but later on, I am imagining lots of smaller firms will be jumping in on the creation side, and that's what I think Omniverse is making easy to do.
And I think going back to the 7 layers, so this is one of the basic infrastructure layer where NVIDIA is coming into play. It's also creation as well as compute and right. So I think going back to your NFT question, so that is a parallel play. Basically, it's based on blockchain, how to connect more, it's a next level of how to take your pictures, your everything into a format which is not clonable. You can sell it. So a lot of creator economy is getting built.
Yeah.
Saw a lot of good startups in the GameSpeed Summit this week, sorry. So
yeah, NFTs is an interesting thing, right? Fundamentally, when we are starting to think about creator economy, creators are at the forefront. And the biggest challenge there is how do you maximize the potential for your creations? How do you maximize your revenue potential for your creations? The first biggest challenge is traceability. Who is using your creation? How are they using it? How do you know that they are using it? How can we trace it? Yes. Intellectual property, right? Intellectual property and attribution. It's about attribution, and attribution not in the sense of okay, I'm mentioning that okay, I saw this at this particular store and I now have it. That kind of attribution. Attribution in a more direct sense where I bought this vase, and there's somebody that actually created that petal on that vase, and they get a share of what price the vase was selling at.
yes.
Yeah. I think it's about really enabling or empowering the creators to gain from their creations. I mean, there was a good example of a good friend of mine from DreamWorks who had actually created a amazing piece of artwork that that he shared on one of the art forums, which one of the popular Telugu heroes of these days from the Bahubali times, happen to retweet and say, hey, look at this picture, it's amazing. And now that particular painting shows up as the poster for his next movie without any attribution to the creator, right? And that's now a big viral thing that's going on. Now lawsuits are happening and stuff. So there is an opportunity there for blockchain to potentially solve this problem. But it unlike like any virtual ledger mechanism, even banking system is like a virtual ledger mechanism, right? Any virtual ledger mechanism is going to have to deal with multiple different ledgers that have to kind of reconcile, and there needs to be some kind of exchange mechanism there. So that's what you may read about blockchain in the blockchain transfers in the blockchain of ownership and traceability across blockchains.
So I think probably we should do one deep dive on NFTs and blockchains. So emerging area. So I think with this, I would like to thank everyone. And I would like to invite Pramila, Anurag, and Samir to facilitate the tokens of appreciation to our guests from Samir. All right. Yeah. So so I would like to thank everyone again. And as part of BITSAA SVC, we are going to start a extended series on blockchain metaverse. So you'll see some more notes and some amazing speakers like Shaurya and Satish. So thank you once again, everyone. And thank you to FalconX for hosting us.
Thank you, Ankush, for actually having us and for pulling this in a super short notice. Thanks for everyone for spending your Friday evenings with us.
Hey, congratulations, guys. Also, hold the mic this way. It gets loud and right. But fantastic, fabulous, and thank you very much. We're thrilled to be hosting this event that BITSAA has put together. Always welcome. We consider ourselves an extended family of the BITSAA family because, I have been given the keys to the BITSAA kingdom through Raju Reddy. Having said that, my name is Murli Chirala. I'm one of the co-founders along with Raju and the Korean. We're about 9 + 1, 10 co-founders of FalconX platform. I just wanted to do a quick plug where each of you can do 1 of 3 things or more than 1 or 2 of those, which is either you're an entrepreneur, in which case FalconX is a fantastic platform for entrepreneurs to kind of leverage for mentorship, access to customers and capital, and so on and so forth. The second part of it is many of you are exceptional mentors. We would love to make sure that we can engage with the mentors, with the startups that we continuously bring on board. And the third is as enterprise captains, we also have a very active enterprise partnership program because enterprises do a lot of innovation, but they need to have a continuous lens into third-party global innovation. We're that kind of a partner that can provide that because we partner with global accelerators around the world. So we're able to tap into innovation that happens around, and many of them send their startups into our ecosystem as well. So with that, I think I want to thank each and every one of you. And at least let's get to the networking part of and enjoying the good food out there.
Yeah.
And by the way, there's some wine that I've added to the occasion. So please enjoy.
Thank you so much. Thank you, FalconX. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, one final plug. I will have, for everyone who wants to see the Flam demo, I'll have the greeting cards at the back. I have the app downloaded. So just find me and I'll show you guys what Flam is all about.